Hello, esteemed curators. This is ProxyBrewer. I'm here to bring you a quick guide on how to digitally kitbash STL files in Blender. If you look over here, we have the deuterium troops from my Doomsday Division release all set up in Blender. To make this attempt at explaining the process to you a bit more bearable, I've set it up so my key presses are being recorded in the bottom right of the screen, so you can follow along. Okay, let's get started. I'm just going to delete this model I made for the start of this video. And let's see, I want, for example, I wanted this lower body to start off with. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select it by left clicking it. And as you can see, there's an outline that starts up around the object once you have selected it. By pressing Shift and D, I can duplicate this and bring it over. Now, what's actually important is that I am in the front view by pressing numpad 1, which swaps you to the front view. If you want to pan around, you can use the middle mouse button to do that. But just to make sure that we are always moving things along the x-axis, you can just press numpad 1 and get sent to this view. If you want to move objects along the x-axis without being in this view, you can press G and X, which will then allow you to only move things along the x-axis. The same thing applies for every other axis. If you press X and Z, you can move along the Z-axis, or X and Y, you can move it along the Y-axis. All right, let's reset our view. I've selected this lower body, and I'm just going to put it on the axis here. And let's say, for example, I wanted this upper body. I'm just going to select it again by left-clicking it and then pressing Shift and D to duplicate this. And I'm just going to try and move this into position as closely as I can. Now, by scrolling with the mouse wheel, I can zoom in here. And I can see that the front view looks quite okay, but the side view needs a little bit of tilting. Now, if I press numpad 3, I can switch over to the side view, which will then put you on the Y-axis. And by pressing R, you can rotate the object around the origin here. The origin is the bright red or orange dot in the middle. So I'm just going to rotate this slightly and press G again to move this into position and a little bit better. Now, as you can see from the side view, the front view, everything looks quite okay. Now, what is important is that it is intersecting all of the geometry that you see here. So the objects themselves are intersecting with each other. And this is especially important when you are 3D printing, just because it means that all of the islands are connected and you won't have any floating islands anywhere, as well as any of the voids that resin can perhaps get stuck in, and that's not what you want for 3D printing. So you can tell that this is connected by seeing how the outline of the selection goes through this the lower part of the body. And if you want to really want to make sure that it's intersecting, you can go up here to the toggle X-ray button and click that, and you can see a little bit better how the geometry intersects with the upper body, or vice versa. Now let's just turn this back off again by clicking on the X-ray button again. So this looks pretty okay for the upper body and lower body. And now let's say I want to add some arms, right? Let's say I wanted to, I don't know, grab one of these guns. Let's say I want to grab this pistol over here. I'm selecting it, pressing Shift D. Zoom out a little bit so you can see, and just move it over with G. Just move it on over. And actually, after you press Shift D, it'll automatically put you to the move mode. And once again, to delete something, you can just press select the object, press X, and press delete. Now let's also move this into position here from the front view. Now this looks pretty okay. From the side view, once again, by pressing numpad 3, doesn't look so okay. Let's just move it into where the socket would be. And let's make sure that it does intersect once again with the geometry here. As I zoom in here, you can see that it's definitely inside the model. Oh, and I completely forgot how to explain how I just flipped that for you. So if you want to flip this stuff, you can select this and go to Object and then Mirror, and then press X Global, which will then mirror it along the global X-axis, as you can see. As it just did. So let's mirror that back, and it's in position yet again. By panning around, you can see looks pretty okay. And let's say I want to grab, I don't know, I want to grab this knife over here, right? I'm just going to click it, select it, Shift D, move that over here. Of course, we need to mirror this so that it fits. And we just slide that into position once again by pressing G. Once again, we're going to make sure that this intersects. Looks pretty okay. Now, for example, if I wanted to raise this, you could just go to the side view and then rotate this in a little bit of a higher position. And then once again, go back around. Oh, oops, I just clipped through some geometry here, forgive me. Move back around, slide that into position, and really make sure that that's intersecting. So there you go. Now we've got our little guy running. He's got his knife out. Looks really cool. So let's say we want to now export this. Let's get this all ready for exporting. What we want to do is we want to select the main body and then click outside of it by holding Shift and left click to drag a box over the entire set of models. Now we want to merge this all together by pressing Ctrl J, which will join all of the objects into one singular object. And now to make sure that every one of this geometry is having the correct face orientation, we want to go up here and double check by pressing face orientation. And as you can see, one of these limbs, specifically the knife limb, it was not facing in the correct orientation. This can sometimes happen. In order to fix this, what we're going to do is we're going to select the model, press Tab, which will set us into edit mode here in the top left. Press A, and then press Shift N, which will then reorientate all of the faces in the correct position. Now, as you can see, the model is completely blue, which means that we're not going to have any troubles with non-manifold faces. But just to make sure that this model is completely fine to 3D print, what you should do is install 3D Builder, which is a free software by Microsoft that you can install. I'll put a link in the description where you can download it. But basically, this program has a magical ability to make sure that the models that you are printing are completely manifold and 3D printable. So let's export it over there by first saving this specific model. Let's click on it, go to File, and then Export to STL, and then we can just save it wherever we want to. I'm just going to save it right here. Make sure that this is set to selection only here on the right side, and then we can export the STL. I'm going to open up 3D Builder and then drag the file from a folder into this program. Now, once again, this is to double check if the model is completely fine for printing. Here's the model. We can import it by pressing Import Model in the top left. As you can see, there are no errors on the screen. What would happen if the model was non-manifold is it will give you a message here in the bottom right, which will then say, click here to repair. And what you want to do is you want to just click on it, and then it's going to start loading and doing some magic. I would suggest just leaving it there and then coming back to it when it's done. Sometimes it's instantly done. Sometimes it takes a little bit. It just depends on how many polygons are on the model and how complicated the non-manifold faces are to fix. But basically, this is now completely finished. You can see it's here. We can drag it all around. It's all fine for export. So let's now export this. Let's go in the top left here. Go to Save As. And then you can save it wherever you want to. And of course, I'm going to save it where I've saved the model previously, which is right here. Now let's make sure that we've also selected STL format because it wants to put it into 3MF, which is not what we want. We want STL, and then we should say, there we go, repaired, if I can actually spell this. So there it is. And I'll just open this model up in my slicer software, which is Box. And as you can see, the model will be completely ready for supporting. Yep, so that's the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've learned something. I hope this was useful. If it was, leave a like, maybe a comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome models. All right, thank you.